This is Sid Roth saying, I have a vision. Now is the set time to blow the trumpet in Zion.
Blow a trumpet in Zion, sound it on the mountains. Blow a trumpet in Zion, for the day of the Lord is come.
Shalom, Mishpacha. Shalom, family. Mishpacha is a Hebrew word. It means family. And we're the Mishpacha, the family with a Jewish heart, made up of Jewish and non-Jewish people that are one new man in Messiah. Getting ready, Mishpacha, to blow the grandest shofar, or the grandest trumpet in Zion. We want everyone, everywhere, to hear the good news. We want everyone, everywhere, to be red hot for the Messiah. I have a Jewish woman on the telephone, Michelle Cohen, who is red hot for the Messiah. She was 22 years of age, living in England when she found out for the first time she was Jewish. It was hidden from her because of all the anti-Semitism and the hurts that her mother had. And Michelle, you said that you were going to a top school in England for performing arts, and you were living with some other women. Things were not going so well in your life. You were breaking up with guys, but it sounds like it really was affecting you. It wasn't just, right. Oh, well, there's someone new. It sounds like it really was very destructive in your life.
It really was. When my grandfather died, my Jewish grandfather at the age of 15, I think that's when I really began to ask the questions that so many people ask. Who am I? Where do I come from? Where am I going when I die? And, getting together with boyfriends, breaking up, but having that pain on the inside and in trying to deal with the pain, began to open myself up to some things that really became quite destructive.
Well, you actually, with the other girls in the dorm, you had a seance. How did you even know to have one?
I really didn't know much about that kind of thing. When I look back now, I realized opening the door, that's really what it was. It was opening the door to the devil. Did I know it was the devil? No. I didn't even know demons existed. I didn't know what they were. If someone had said that to me, I would have laughed at them. Oh, come on, demons. But when I look back now and I realize what we did that night, it was a very serious step in the wrong direction.
Did you actually make communication with the spirit world?
We did, and I'll never forget it because the sense of darkness and evil in the room was unbelievable. And yet, in my naivety, I thought, well, maybe this supernatural world out there is what's going to hold the answers to some of my problems.
Well, I notice that it's sort of like the drug of choice for the moment gives you the high for the moment, right. But in the new age, you have to keep going on to bigger and better things, right. Because the old it isn't working anymore. Did the same thing happen to you?
Oh, that's so true. You put that so well. I went from the seance to looking into astrology, and then, what began as just a looking through the magazines on a weekly basis became this ever deeper search, getting books from the library, thinking, okay, well, if that's not enough, maybe I need to know enough to actually do it for other people. Then from that it became tarot cards, and then from tarot cards it became every kind of new age or occultic type thing that came up. I'd go to it. And what I found was instead of getting the answers to those fundamental questions in life and the void in my heart being filled, it seemed to life became emptier and darker and more miserable.
But then it came to a point where you could actually look into the spirit world and right. You began to see demons. Tell me about that.
That's true. That was probably the most terrible time of my life that I can remember. I felt like I was on such a downhill decline. I would wake up in the middle of the night and see the most grotesque creatures in my bedroom and just glaring at me, leering at me, and I was powerless to do anything about it. Didn't know what they were, didn't know why they were there tormenting me, but I was very deeply tormented by that. It was quite awful.
Well, didn't anyone tell you how to close the door that you had opened?
The whole of my time in England until I left England at the age of 24, I never heard the good news of Yeshua the Messiah. I never heard how to get free from these things. I just went deeper and deeper into things that took me further and further away from light and truth.
But were you deceived to the point where you actually thought evil was good?
I think that the reality of what I knew deep down in my heart let me see that this wasn't going anywhere. This was no answer at all. It got to the point finally, Sid, where I thought, I've tried everything. I don't know what else to do. I don't know where else to turn. I don't even want to live anymore. And I knew that these things weren't the answers. I didn't think that the evil was good because it had no joy. There was no peace in it. And life was miserable. I didn't even want to live.
October 1988, you hit a real low point in your life. Why?
I had just broken up with another boyfriend. I thought my heart was going to break in two, literally, physically. The pain was so great. I felt like I'd tried everything I could, and I did not want to live anymore. I can remember walking upstairs into my bedroom thinking, I just need to figure out how to end this thing once and for all. And Sid, it was at that moment, the lowest point in my life. I don't even know where his precious name came from, but deep down from the inside of me, I can remember looking up as if through the ceiling to heaven and saying, Jesus, if you're real, please help me. Please help me. And I just sobbed and cried for hours, cried myself to sleep. And my life didn't change overnight, but I know one thing. When I woke up the next morning, I had a hope that I hadn't had the night before. I had a hope that I could just keep going a little bit longer and that I needed a change. I needed a big change. I didn't know what that change was, but I needed a change in my life.
Well, you really did have a big change because you ended up in the United States.
Right.
And you met a woman by the name of Frances Chapman that changed your life. Tell me about her.
Yes, I went to my boss. I knew I needed a change. I went to the lady that I was working for at another of the very best performing arts schools in London, and I was teaching dance and choreographing, and I went to her and I said, I just need to go to America for a while. She said, well, why don't you go and stay with my friend Frances in Los Angeles? And I said, well, that's okay with me. Can Frances pick me up from the airport? And she did. She was such a sweet and lovely lady and took me home to her house, and 2 days later, Frances was getting up, getting ready to go somewhere, and I said, where are you going? And she said, I'm going to church. And I said, can I come? And she said, sure. Why don't you come along? And I went with her, and we went into church on the way. It was the first time I'd ever been into a church before, and said, all I can remember, when I walked through the door, I felt the most beautiful presence that I had ever experienced in my life. I knew, I'd never used the word holy, but I knew when I walked in those doors, and there was hundreds, even close to 1,000 or 2,000 people with their hands lifted up, singing praises to this invisible God. And as I walked through the door, I felt this holy and beautiful presence, and I began to cry. It began to touch me very, very deeply in my heart.
And you began to hear a voice.
Yes. I heard the most gentle, loving, compassionate voice I had ever heard. It was as if it was right in my heart, this voice, speaking right to my heart, not to my head, but to my heart. And he said, it's all right, Michelle. You're home now. You're home now. And I was just overwhelmed with this sense. I knew that it was Jesus. I knew Jesus, the one that I cried out to 3 months earlier, saying, Jesus, if you're real, please help me. That he had answered that cry and answered that prayer, and he was coming to tell me, it's all right. You're in the right place. You're home now. And home was him.
But then immediately you heard another voice.
Yes, I did. It was almost like a fight going on. This voice seemed to not be able to penetrate deep into my heart. This was a voice that spoke to my intellect, if you like, and I heard a harder voice speak to my mind saying, don't give in. You'll be a nothing. You'll be a nobody. You'll get lost in the crowd. You'll never be in the limelight again, because I came from the entertainment industry and I heard this voice telling me all the reasons why I shouldn't surrender to Jesus, why I shouldn't surrender to this love, this compassion, this voice, this presence that filled my heart more than years and years and years of trying every other thing. Jesus filled that void in my heart instantly, and I knew I needed to give my life to him and let him heal me.
You told me you actually not only heard a voice, but you felt a presence of God. Describe that.
Light, perfect light, lightness, peace, no worries, a sense of faith, that the presence of Jesus was enough to take care of everything that would worry me. And when I can remember when I gave my heart to him, I said, Jesus, I have tried everything. I want to give my heart to you. I want to give my life to you. I believe that you are the Son of God that gave the gift of righteousness to me. I believe that what you did for me, laying your life down, your blood, was enough to atone for my sin. Take my sins away. I accept what you did for me. Come and live in my heart. And as I did that, it was almost like a really strong shower from heaven got switched on in the heavenlies. And I experienced being washed with light and life and love, and I was never the same again.
We're out of time, Michelle. Hold that thought. We're going to find out how Michelle and Jeffrey got together in a very supernatural fashion and the miracles that have happened since. But this week, last week I interviewed David Hogan. This week we're offering his video, Faith to Raise the Dead. He taught at the Brownsville School of Revival in Pensacola, Florida. My good friend, the dean there, Dr. Michael Brown, who's been a guest many times on Messianic Vision, is the strongest of integrity, says that David Hogan is the real thing. The miracles that you and I have read about in the Bible, that we hear that occur a little here, a little there, once in a great while, they're commonplace. I mean, David Hogan literally said he's seen every part of the human body healed or recreated. One of my staff members had a very tragic thing. She became a widow at a young age, and her faith, which was very strong, was diminished. And when she saw this video, Faith to Raise the Dead, literally hope and faith was injected into her, and she can't be quiet about Jesus. She can't be quiet about the miracles. It's like it was all welled up within her, and the devil had stolen it. That's just what he does. He steals our faith. Well, this video will give you faith. I believe faith to raise the dead. It's $18, postage paid. The David Hogan video, Faith to Raise the Dead. We're making it available this week only. I urge you to call or write for the video, Faith to Raise the Dead.
If you would like to receive a complimentary copy of our bi-monthly teaching newsletter, cassette catalog, or information about becoming Mishpocha, write to me, Sid Roth, Post Office Box 1918, Brunswick, Georgia 31521. Or call our order-only line, 1-800-548-1918. To place a credit card order, call anytime, 1-800-548-1918. For all other calls, the number is 912-265-2500. That's 912-265-2500. For a cassette tape of this week's broadcast, send $5 to Sid Roth, Post Office Box 1918, Brunswick, Georgia 31521. Look us up on the web, www.sidroth.org. That's www.sidroth.org.